Kscope 2015 in Florida.
So I'm here in Florida at Kscope 15. It's Todd Trichler, Oracle Developer Outreach Advocate, and I'm here with Chet Justice, who is also known as Oracle Nerd, or is familiar, if you haven't seen it before, the Oracle Nerd clothing line. Love the identity, love what you do for the community. People don't realize often how important it is to have things like just an identity, what people can associate with is like, you know, the Geek clothing line or the Oracle Nerd clothing line, and how much that builds community. What gave you the idea even to start off with? What's the background idea? How did you get into that?
You know, it started, I started a business about 12 years ago, and you know, this was completely unrelated to technology, anything, but I'd printed up t-shirts at one point for some of the people that had invested in the company, and that just seemed like a very natural thing to do. When I bought the domain, oraclenerd.com, amazingly available, in 2007, that was one of the first things I did, is I created a cafe press shop and you know, put up a couple shirts and just left it there. Nobody bought a shirt forever, but you know, it just seemed kind of a natural thing for me to do. I don't know why, just because it was a fun name. I liked the name. I'd been using the name to describe what I did for a living for a few years at that point, so it appears that other people sort of identify with that as well. Excellent.
Now, ODTUG, a lot of developer conferences out there. Why'd you pick ODTUG?
I did collaborate in 2009, 2010. My first conference was Open World in 2002. That was my very first conference in IT. I did not, or when I was working in IT, I did not go to a conference for 6 or 7 years. I'd been looking for something, and I followed people like Lewis Cunningham and Tom Kite, obviously, and I see the events that they were attending, and I tried Collaborate, I think it was in 2009, and went there, and you know, it was huge, a lot of people are, you know, really nice, but I felt like there was something missing for me. There wasn't a lot of content for me, specifically. And the following year, I got involved on the abstract review committee, doing reviewing the database-related abstracts. Lewis Cunningham was the track lead at the time, and you know, it just kind of, I came to the conference the year after that, after I had you know, done a lot of work behind the scenes, and it was immediate. I mean, it was almost immediate. We had this very small venue with a lot of great content, so we got to run into each other 20, 30 times in a 5-day period. Plus you had, you know, Tom, Carrie, Dominic, all these people that came to this conference, and you know, and you had access to them. You don't get to see them at Collaborate because it's so big. Open World, unless you know, some random, you know, happenstance.
Unless you're a major customer that's got a...
you're just not going to see them unless you know them beforehand, and you can you know, go up. But here you just run into them in the hall when they're more likely to be... when they're more likely to engage, they're not they're just, hey,
they have the
time,
right? Exactly. They're not as constrained on their resources.
Right. So that, I mean, that's my favorite part of Kscope, is the small nature of it, and the ability to connect with people that, you know, I've read and admired for many years.
Excellent. Now, you mentioned database abstracts and reviewing that, and one of the things I loved about your topic talk here at Kscope was you were doing database modeling, the design of it, but you were focused on the 101 level content, that introductory level content. And I love that, because a lot of times, unfortunately, presenters are really bright and they don't realize that not everybody has those same building blocks, or they don't consciously, there's a lot of assumptions that are made there. And a lot of times people don't necessarily know, okay, if I'm just getting started, or if I'm maybe new to a specific technology area, where's the 101 content? So what's some of the salient features that you brought out in your talk there, and that you focus on?
First of all, I'm lucky. You know, no one's accusing me of being one of those really smart people, so we'll probably start there. No, you know, it's just something. I've had exposure to a lot of different technologies, from the OLTP to the data warehouse to the reporting or the business intelligence, and you know, up and down the data stack, if you will. And you know, one thing that I've noticed, as you get further along the stack, you realize that there's less reporting built into these front-end applications. So the back-end applications end up doing all this stuff, and then you see the really bad SQL that's necessary to get the data out, and the amount of work that's required to do all these things. And if this OLTP, this source system, this core data storage system had been done a little bit differently or a little bit better, a little more thought put into it, all these downstream applications would be a lot cheaper to maintain and, and easier to run.
Excellent. So, Chet, super appreciate your time.
Thank you, Todd.
Thanks for all the work that you do for the community, just both the soft touch with the, let's wreck this together type attitude, and it's really that extra mile that makes the difference. And people, I mean, at the end of the day, developers are people too, and it's the community that we build together that makes the difference, and you're a large part of it. Thanks.
Thank you, Todd. I appreciate it.